What is the internet? Some people think that the internet is this complex cloud technology of something that is always available in the sky, allowing people to stay connected. In this short video, I'm going to debunk that idea and explain in simple terms possible what is the internet, how does the internet work, and I'm also going to talk to you about the role of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, which are basically the languages of the web. So by the end of this video, you're going to understand inside out about what is the internet and how it works. So what is internet? In simple terms, internet is a global network of interconnected computers. Just that, a global network of interconnected computers, computers that are connected to one another via a long wire. So all these computers form what is called World Wide Web, and we have two major categories of these computers. We have client computers, and then we have server computers. Client computers can be any gadget that is able to connect to the internet. For example, you can have a phone, a tablet, a laptop. And on the other hand, a server computer is also a computer, but this is a specialized kind of computer that is always connected to the internet, and it runs 24/7. These computers are always available so that whenever a client requests any resource from the server, they are able to be served whatever resource they request at any time. So here is an example of Google Server. This is a Google Data Center. So what you're seeing here, these are Google servers, basically computers that are specialized to run 24/7 and always connected to the internet. So how do you get connected to these servers, for example, via your client computer? Mostly this happens through undersea cable. These are undersea fiber optic cables that transmit data in form of light pulses. These cables are different compared to, for example, copper cables that only transmit data in form of electrons. These transmit data in form of light pulses, and as a result, they are very, very fast, almost transmitting data in speed of light. Yeah, so this is an example of a cross-section of this fiber optic cable. So what you can see, the most important part is this part, the inner core, which contains the fiber optic cables. And then all this is a shield, just reinforcing and protecting these fiber cables, because these cables are basically glass and they can easily be damaged. And also considering the fact that they are undersea, they are exposed to various elements, for example, even the sharks, the harsh climatic condition, and all that. So this reinforcement ensure that the fiber optic cables are always protected. And then these fiber cables connect different continents so that each and every continent is connected to the internet. And then how do you connect to these undersea cables? We connect to these undersea cables using internet service providers. So here we have an example of common internet service providers. For example, we have AT&T, we have Comcast, we have Vodafone, we have BT, we have Orange, and then in East Africa we have Safaricom. And nowadays we also have Starlink, which operates under a different principle. Actually, they don't use undersea fiber cables. They instead use satellites. So this has its advantages, and also they have their disadvantages. One of the disadvantages is that the internet might not be that fast compared to fiber cables, because the satellites are very far from the surface of the earth. And then also the satellites transmit data via radio waves, which might not be as fast as the fiber optic cables. Yeah, so that is one of the disadvantage, but also it has an advantage where it's accessible in the most remote areas. Yeah, so maybe in the near future, people might move away from fiber optic cables as they continuously try to improve and make sure that the satellites are as fast as the fiber optic cables. So through the internet service providers, we are able to connect to the internet, mostly via Ethernet cables, if you connect directly to your gadget, or sometimes you connect wirelessly using, for example, data bundles that connect to the network tower that is ultimately connected to the fiber cables. So the reason that we have to connect these towers to the fiber cables is that the signal is not as strong, because if you use wireless, mostly you're using electromagnetic waves, which are not as strong because of, for example, the climatic condition, geographical terrain, and such like things. But ultimately, these towers are connected to the fiber optic cable. Okay, so how does the internet work? So every gadget that is connected to the internet is assigned a unique number that is called an IP address. So this is like a postal address number that uniquely identifies every gadget that is connected to the internet. So for example, if I am connected to my internet using my phone and I want to search, for example, google.com page, the only way to be able to get this page is somehow to be able to connect to Google servers using their IP address. But again, as you realize, it's very difficult for humans to remember digits. So that's why there is this idea of domain name service server. So this is basically a massive phone book for the internet that matches human readable domain names such as google.com with their IP addresses. Yeah, so for me, I don't have to remember this number or this number for me to be able to request whatever page I want to request. The only thing I need to remember is the domain name, and then the domain name service server is able to help me by matching the domain name with the right IP address. So this is the same principle you use even in your phone. It's very difficult to remember people's numbers, but what you do, you save people's numbers with their corresponding names. So that, for example, if you want to call John, what you do, you just dial John's name, and the phone is able to match the name with the right number. And briefly, let me talk about internet and internet protocols. So you've already requested a page. Let's say you've requested google.com page. How is the page able to be loaded in your machine? So it's able to be loaded in your machine or your computer using a certain protocol. So for the sake of comparison, I have different types of protocols, but we are going to focus on one. So this is just a comparison so that you have a general understanding. So protocol is basically a set of rules that allow one system to talk to another system and share information or data over a network. So this can be internet, over the internet, or over a local network. Yeah, so for example, I was talking of the example of how do you get to load, for example, google.com page. So when you request google.com, you make a request to the server, and then the server is able to render that page to your machine. And that is made possible using HTTP protocol. Yeah, so we'll talk about that a little bit more. And then for the sake of comparison again, we have other protocols. These are usually local network protocols. For example, Bluetooth. If you want to listen to some music, you're using a headphone, you can use Bluetooth to connect to your phone. And then to control your TV, in most cases you use a remote that uses an infrared protocol. And then let's say you're connected to the internet via Wi-Fi. In most cases, you use Wi-Fi protocol. Yeah, so let me talk a little bit more about HTTP protocol. HTTP is full for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. It's a protocol that is specifically used for transferring hypertext, for example, web pages and other resources between client computer and the server computer. So as I said, you use this protocol to load, for example, google.com page. And then this protocol works on top of another protocol that is called Transport Control Protocol. that also uses IP to establish connection for data transfer. So the kind of transfer that is transported or transferred using HTTP protocol includes HTML page, CSS, JavaScript, and other media files. So what is HTML and CSS and JavaScript? HTML is basically defines the structure of the web page. It's sort of the skeleton of a page. And then CSS is another file, another language that is used to style the HTML page and just give it some color, restructure it, just make it good in terms of presentation. And then JavaScript gives some kind of functionality on HTML page. Yeah, so I have an example here to demonstrate this. So this is a simple web page that I've prepared just to demonstrate the difference between HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So you can see these are small files, just HTML file, CSS file, and then JavaScript file. So I'm going to demonstrate the role of each of this page in the web so that you better understand. So you don't have to understand really the details, just get the general perspective. So let me just run this page in my local computer. So this is the page that I'm running, but as you can see, this page is not so nice. It's kind of ugly. So this is the role of HTML. It just lays out the structure, or rather the content of the page. Any page in the internet, it uses HTML to lay the structure of the page. And then for us to make it beautiful, we said we need CSS. So in my page here, what I've done is, yes, I have CSS, but I've not linked it to the main page, which is the index HTML. So for me to do that, I need to uncomment out this. So if I uncomment out this and save, what I'm doing is I'm applying the CSS, whatever the CSS styles that I have. We said CSS used to style the page. So in this CSS file, I have some styles that I've used to style my page. So if I uncomment out this and save, what I'm doing is I'm effectively applying these styles to my page. So now if I have a look at our page, you see now the page has really changed. And the only difference is that this page is now styled. At least we have a background color, we have some color for the title, we have a font that is much bigger. Yeah, so this is the role of CSS. It makes our web pages beautiful and just adds some bit of aesthetics. Maybe you can have a look at CSS. I show you something here. So you don't have to worry about anything here. I just want to show you, for example, a title. I've applied a title, given it a font of 6 rem and then this color, and then I'm targeting the title. I'm saying these are the styles I want for the title. No wonder if you have a look at our title, you see this is the color, this is the font, and all that. Yeah, so now we talked about JavaScript, and I said JavaScript is basically used to add some functionality to our page. So how I made this example, I made it in a way that if you click this, it should be able to change the title to something else. But as you see right now, that's not happening. And also if I try to, for example, click here, light on, nothing happens, light off, nothing happens. So the reason is that I have that functionality in my JavaScript file, the file that ends with .js, but I have not linked it to my main page. So now if I uncomment out this line and save and come back to my page, try, for example, to click here, you see I'm able to change the title every time. And again, if I click light on, I'm able to simulate the act of lighting a bulb. And also I can say light off, I simulate light off, light on. Yeah, so all this is happening because of JavaScript. what helps us to manipulate the page. Yeah, so I have all this functionality in my JavaScript file here. So for example, you can see the different titles I had here, and then every time I click that button, I change to one of these. And also you see the functionality of lighting on, lighting off. So you don't really have to worry about this. If you want to learn more about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you can check out my other series and you learn more about these technologies. But what I really wanted to do is just to explain and give you the overview of what HTML does, what CSS does, and what JavaScript does. Yeah, so every page you find in the web, it's usually uses these three technologies.